Hi, my name is Morgan Warnock, and I'm going to teach you how to knit. So, the first thing you need to do is make a slip knot with your yarn. You'll want to make sure that you leave a small tail so the yarn doesn't come out of the knot. You'll want to put the slip knot on your knitting needle with the tail facing the back end of the needle and have the needle in your left hand. Take the second needle in your right hand, put it through, wrap the yarn around, and pull that through the hoop, twist it a little bit, and put it back on the needle. So one more time, you want to put the needle through the hoop, wrap the yarn around the needle, and you want to pull this through the hoop, holding on to the yarn, and then twist it, put it back on the needle. When starting a new row, it's the same as casting on. You want to hold your working needle in your right hand. It should be the one that's currently empty. And you want to have the needle with all of your stitches for the row in your left hand. It's pretty simple. All you need to do is take your needle, the empty working needle. You want to put it through the first hoop that's on the left needle, wrap your yarn around it, and pull it through. Now instead of putting the hoop back on the needle, you just want to slide it off the other needle. So you're sliding it off while adding another stitch. You want to put it through, wrap the yarn around, and bring it through the hoop, and then slide it off. Repeat for the rest of the row. When you're done with the row, move the now empty needle to your right hand and the full one to your left hand. You'll always want to start like this. It will help you knit more smoothly. And when you're ready to start your next row, you start exactly the same. Okay, so now you've stitched a few rows and you're ready to start increasing your stitch count. It's basically the same as casting on. You just want to put your needle through the first hoop, wrap the yarn around it, pull it through, and then do that little twist and put it back on. One more time, you want to put the needle through that first hoop, wrap it around, and then slide it through and put it back on. Then when you start your new row, you want to continue as normal. Decreasing the stitch count is a little trickier. Once you've gone as far as you want to go, increasing or keeping it as a normal constant stitch count, you may want to decrease. And so you put your needle through, but instead of making a stitch, you just want to slide it off the needle so you have one hoop that's unstitched on one side. Then you want to put it through the next hoop, wrap your yarn around just like you would a normal stitch, and go ahead and pull it through and slide it off as you normally would. But now you want to pull that first hoop over the second hoop that you had just made. This will decrease your stitch count. And when you want to start a new row, you would continue as you normally would. So once you're done knitting your piece, you're going to want to cast off. Cast off is very similar to decreasing your stitch count. You'll want to have do 2 stitches as you normally would, but then stop and then pull that second hoop over that first next hoop, and then continue as you would a normal stitch. Do 1 stitch and then pull stitch 2 over stitch 1. Do 1 stitch, pull stitch 2 over stitch 1. When you come to the end, you'll want to cut off your yarn, but leave a small tail so it won't unravel. Pull the hoop through or off the knitting needle so you can tie it, and you want to tie it with the same thread. So you want to put the thread through the hoop and tie a knot. So now that you're done with your piece, knitting wise, you'll want to sew it all up. Sewing it is pretty simple. Just put the edges together, and you want to start from the bottom. That's what I did. You start from the bottom, put the 2 edges together, and just start sewing up the side. Don't worry about the knots at this point. I usually go back and sew the knots so that when I cut off the tail, it won't unravel, because sometimes my knots aren't tight enough. So I found if I sew the knot, then it will stick together better. So you'll want to sew all the way up to almost the end. I sewed up to the widest point of my hand, and then I tried it on so I could see where exactly I wanted my thumb hole to be, because you don't want to sew the thumb hole up. That makes it not a fingerless glove. So I took the edges of the last little bit, pinched them together, counted about how many rows that was. For mine it was about 3 rows, and then I took my hand out, visualized where it was that I wanted to start sewing up again, and then just brought my needle over and continued sewing as I normally would. So again here, I am sewing up the knot so that the tail won't unravel after I cut it. Because for me, at least, it's like no matter how tight I tie it, it's just one of those simple knots, and so I want to make sure that it's secure and will be durable. You want to cut off the end of your yarn and then cut off your tail and repeat for the second tail that I didn't show you, but I promise I did it, and you're done. Aren't they beautiful? Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it.